So meditation is one of those things that we all know is really good for us, and specifically in making us feel happier. It's one of the very few scientifically proven ways of actually boosting our kind of baseline happiness, our day-to-day happiness that kind of doesn't fluctuate so much as, you know, when something good happens to us or something bad happens to us. Our baseline happiness goes up temporarily or down temporarily, but then evens out again. And meditation is one of those few things that actually makes us generally happier. But it's one of those things that's also very, very easy to just put on the back burner and not prioritize in our life, because it's pretty much the opposite to what our capitalistic society tells us we should be doing. It tells us we should be being productive. And so we're kind of pushed into this constant mindset of trying to get things done, trying to be productive all the time, and then as soon as we're kind of done for the day or we feel like we've achieved what we needed to achieve, we just want to kind of collapse and immerse ourselves in distractions. And meditation is neither of those things. It's not distracting and it's not productive in the kind of typical sense. So it's really easy to forget about doing it. And despite the fact that I consider myself to be a spiritual person, that I have a spiritual practice, that it's very important to me to cultivate a sense of the sacredness of the universe, it's still really easy for me to just let these kind of practices that are honestly kind of the foundation of my entire spiritual practice, it's really easy for me to let them slide for pretty much all of those reasons. And I decided that I wanted to do something about that, and I wanted to do something serious about that. I have been trying to get back into a really consistent spiritual practice for several years now. I moved to Edinburgh 3.5 years ago now, and with that move, a lot of the practices and habits that I'd cultivated back in Dublin kind of dissipated. It's very easy when we move to a different physical environment, I think, to just lose the habits that we associate with the old physical environment. It's just, you know, everything changed and it was easy to kind of lose those habits. So yeah, for about 2 years, I think, I've been gradually making it a priority again, making time for it, making sure that I do try and incorporate it into especially my morning, because I find that if I don't do things in the morning, they may not happen ever. And I just really noticed when it came to the winter this year that I was experiencing kind of mental health issues, nothing super serious, but enough to be, you know, bothering me, enough to be kind of hindering my productivity and making me just less happy and less content. And I made the decision to really get serious about meditation and to try out the Headspace app. Now, I'm not here to advocate the Headspace app in any particular way. It's not an ad, it's not sponsored, whatever. And honestly, I probably won't continue to use it after my year's subscription is up, because I've got to the point now where I'm really just using it to do the unguided meditation, and it's just a gong at the beginning and at the end, and frankly, I don't need to be paying for that service. But Headspace really was a very useful way for me to really kickstart my meditation practice again. I did kind of the beginner courses and then pretty much delved into doing the unguided meditations after some weeks or months of doing the beginner kind of courses fairly consistently. But I still found that I wasn't necessarily doing it every day. There was kind of the positive feeling of building up the streak on Headspace, where it would tell you, you know, you've been meditating for 38 days straight, and then if you forget it for a day, it's gone back to zero again. So I was kind of going back and forth with that, and then it came to Christmas time, and I had a really tough December. My mental health was terrible, and I was just very stressed, and you know, there's been a lot going on, and there's various reasons for that, and I just decided that it was time for me to make a serious commitment. So I decided to meditate every single day in 2019 without fail. And the Headspace app has definitely been helping me do that, but I definitely think that you could do this. You could have the same kind of accountability, like external accountability, from any other kind of app, including free ones, like just kind of tracker apps, or kind of apps that, yeah, any kind of app that tracks your daily activity and will give you a chance to set a goal, or kind of something that you have to kind of do every single day, and it'll tell you, you know, you've got this streak of however many days. I definitely find that really helpful, but also not essential. I think for me the biggest thing was making the commitment to myself. I am actually quite self-motivated in that if I make a strong commitment to myself, that's it, I'm sticking to it, and I will probably stick to that commitment even more so than commitments I make to other people, which is probably not brilliant, but yeah, if I set a really clear goal for myself, I will stick with it. So that's what I've been doing, and as of today I have meditated for 100 days in a row, and I honestly am not sure that I have ever done this before. I have been meditating for 5, 6, 7 years, on and off, sometimes more off than on, and I have definitely gone through phases where my meditation practice has been strong, like really strong, and I've really been into it, and I've been meditating 20 minutes twice a day, and then it always just seems to kind of dissipate again. So yeah, I basically want to start becoming a person who meditates every single day without fail, and yeah, this was the best way that I could think of doing it, was committing to 365 days, no questions asked, no excuses, a minimum of 5 minutes a day. So first of all, I'll say that I think originally when I made this commitment for myself, I was hoping that I would never actually do 5 minutes a day, that it would be more like 10, 15 minutes plus. I absolutely have had days where I've had to do only 5 minutes a day because I literally couldn't find another 5-minute slot to squeeze, a bigger slot of time to squeeze my meditation into. Whether it's just because I've had an insanely busy day or whatever. But 5 minutes you can find anywhere, and 5 minutes, like, if you really have to, you can like take a toilet break for 5 minutes and just sit in the bathroom and meditate. Like, I'm thinking really outside the box here, but like 5 minutes is really manageable. So I'm glad that I've kind of set myself that minimum goal of 5 minutes, because it is so manageable. But that being said, I feel like most of the time I've done more. Unfortunately, I think I've done more 10-minute meditations than I would have thought, because apparently my average time is 13 minutes. But I'm pretty happy with that. I think as a starting point, that's pretty good. I think more recently I've been trying to move more towards doing longer meditations though, because of the benefits that I have experienced so far, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm moving more towards trying to incorporate, first I was incorporating 20-minute meditations again, and now I'm doing as much as 30 minutes in one sitting. And it's tough, like it's really hard. Like, you think that you're, a great meditator, you can sit for 20 minutes no problem, but that last 10 minutes, or the last 5 minutes in particular, of a 30-minute meditation when you're not used to it is, it really takes me back to what it felt like when I first started meditating. So yeah, what's happened? What benefits have I felt? Like, do I feel different? So I'm feeling way better right now. I have started to feel just so much happier in myself, and so much more content and energized and centered and focused and optimistic, but it's really hard to say how much of that is actually directly stemming from my meditation practice, and whether it's stemming from other things like the light coming back. I definitely suffer from a kind of mild seasonal affective disorder, so there's that. So I'm always expecting to see myself bouncing back a bit at this time of year anyway. But I will say that having felt as though my mood and my mental health wasn't necessarily any better since the new year, when I go back and look at another app that I use an app called Dailyo to track my daily habits, like everything that I do in a day. I honestly thought when I started using that app that it would be kind of stressful to use, but I actually find it really helpful. And it's really useful for that kind of thing, because I tell it whenever I've had a day of depression or anxiety, and then I can look back and see, like, how many times did I actually experience anxiety and depression in the last month, and I've definitely noticed a massive drop off, like huge, much more so than what I would normally expect, I think, compared to kind of the kind of darkening months towards winter. I definitely have noticed that there seems to be a sort of consistency, a sort of kind of link between how often I meditate, how long I meditate for, and how stable my mental health is. In terms of mood, I would say as well, for me, mental health and mood are not actually correlated at all. I can have a day of anxiety and my mood is actually quite high. And I can have, on a depressive day my mood won't be good at all, but it won't be reflected in the rest of the week or the month necessarily. So yeah, and for me, my mood often doesn't really respond to anything much apart from how much I'm socializing, but I've definitely started to see kind of an increase in how happy I am and how good I'm feeling, generally speaking, in my mood day to day since I started meditating, and it's kind of gradually increasing over the months, whereas before the new year it was very much kind of up and down, like a random kind of pattern. So yeah, I've definitely felt a difference. I don't think I would have taken on this this goal if I didn't think that there would be a difference, and if I hadn't felt a difference before. I know that in past times in my life I have definitely noticed that an increase in kind of my mental health and also my mood in general, my productivity and all sorts of things like that, and when I am meditating regularly. I will say that I think that the longer I meditate for, the better, and I think there probably is kind of a sweet spot in terms of 10 minutes being maybe a little bit too short. And I know that there is research, I can't remember this to cite it to you, but I know that there's been research done on meditation and how it kind of affects the brain, and that the magic number tends to be 15 minutes, that if you're meditating for 15 minutes every day, that it changes kind of the neural pathways in your brain. So I definitely feel that. I definitely note if I have a week where I'm really busy and I'm only managing to kind of grab kind of 5-minute snatches here and there, that it's not, yeah, I don't feel as grounded and centered and focused and sharp as I do on the weeks where I'm managing to do at least 15, kind of 20 minutes, and even getting in a couple of kind of 30-minute sessions. So that's been really interesting to see. Another thing that I've been kind of playing with is the time of day that I do my meditation. I think before now I really was reluctant to take up the kind of common suggestion of meditating first thing in the morning, and then if you're doing it twice a day, last thing at night, because I really struggle to meditate first thing in the morning, and I always have. I find that my brain is just so busy, it's full of so much noise at that time of day. I have no idea why, but yeah, immediately out of bed or even in the first kind of hour or two after getting up, I'm all over the place. My brain is just, ugh. I can't stop thinking about the day ahead and like what I've got to do that day, and just stupid stuff like what I'm going to have for lunch and planning a video. Not that that's stupid, but you know what I mean. And I tended to always try and fit in my meditation at other times, so in the early evening after coming home, or in the kind of mid to late morning, when I find that my mind is just sort of naturally a bit calmer. And don't get me wrong, I think meditating in those hours can be really beneficial, because I feel like it gives you a boost in that it makes you feel like you're progressing faster with your meditation practice. So I think there is something to be said for really being able to feel the progress that you're making, really be able to kind of sink quickly into that meditative state. Like if you do find a time in the day where that is easier for you. And I think sometimes I progress quicker and I feel kind of more improvement in just how focused and how calm and still I can be during meditation if I kind of do practice during those times. But one thing I've definitely noticed is that because I now have this kind of, that I have to do it every single day, that I have this ultimatum, I'm more likely to meditate first thing in the morning, because I know, especially if I have a busy day, that it's quite possibly not going to happen if I put it off. And as difficult as it is, I think I actually see bigger benefits when I meditate first thing in the morning, because it just injects a kind of sense of calm and clarity and focus into my morning that I would probably not have otherwise. Another great thing I've been doing for this is yoga. I might make another video on that, because I've also been aiming to do yoga pretty much every day, not as strict, but pretty much every day as well. And that's definitely having kind of similar benefits, I think. But yeah, just the benefit of having a morning routine that includes meditation, or just any time of your day when your mind tends to be particularly busy. I think like if you know yourself that there's a time of day that's hard for you to meditate, chances are it's actually a really, really good time for you to meditate. So yeah, balancing up those two things can be tricky. I definitely allow myself to sit down and meditate if I feel like it, because that's usually the times when it's going to be relatively easy to do. But those tough morning ones are, I think, really important in cultivating a greater general kind of all-day, week-long sense of clarity and focus and groundedness. So that's kind of been my main takeaway from the first 100 days of meditation in terms of my well-being, in terms of my mental health. I've definitely noticed a difference, noticed a change. Now, whether that's all the meditation or to do with other changes that have been happening in my life, you know, I can't be sure. But I also kind of wanted to touch on the spiritual side of things, because I not only meditate for all of the kind of, you know, the reasons that we should, the reasons that, you know, you see people talk about and say, you know, it makes you happier, helps your mental health, it helps your stress, it helps all sorts of things. I not only do it for all of that, but I also cultivate a spiritual practice and have committed to this year-long meditation practice in order to just cultivate that sense of the sacredness of the universe. Because as a pantheist who doesn't believe in personified deity necessarily, it's really easy for me to lose sight of that. It's really easy to slip into a very kind of secular mindset and just seeing the world as being very ordinary. And to me, finding stillness and silence in meditation is the quickest, most surefire way for me to step into a state of reverence and a sense of the sacredness of this life that I'm partaking in. And it's definitely not the only thing that kind of keeps that ticking over for me. There's other practices that are important too, and you know, not necessarily the same ones each time, but I always like to have something kind of in the works that is, to me, maybe just purely a devotional practice. So I've had kind of mixed results in terms of the impact that this meditation practice has had on my spirituality. I definitely think that the fact that it's been increasing my ability to kind of slip into that altered state and to feel kind of more clarity and more kind of groundedness, that has all been really, really helpful. And because I do my meditation at my altar, I definitely find that I'm feeling a more kind of sense of serene reverence and that kind of thing on a day-to-day basis. I'm kind of more present when I'm at the altar now than I kind of was in the past, which is wonderful. And it's definitely just making me feel more tapped into my spirituality in a way that's really important to me. But ironically, I feel like actually making this commitment has maybe made me less likely to do the other kinds of practices that are also important to me. And I find that, especially because I have this kind of external accountability, that, you know, once I've done my meditation, I get that tick, I get that sort of, you know, link added to the chain of, you know, how many days I've meditated so far, and it kind of feels like a pat on the back. I'm much less likely to sit down at the altar again at the end of the day. So I'm really wanting to change that. I'm really wanting to improve on that. And some of the changes that I'm going to make going forward for the next 9 months of this and beyond, because I really want to keep doing this, hopefully forever, I really want to start, first of all, doing longer meditations, because I've definitely seen the greatest benefits from doing the kind of longer sessions, and also I think that definitely pulls me more into that kind of spiritual state, or it's more likely to if I'm kind of deepening my practice and deepening that session every time. But also I'm hoping to start integrating a second session every day. So I hope this has been helpful for you, whether you have a meditation practice for wellness or for spirituality or whatever. And do let me know your experiences in the comments, and let me know if you have any particular questions or anything you'd like me to address in a future video. And as always, thanks a million for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more similar videos, and check out the down bar for links to my social media and so on. You can find me elsewhere. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.